1936 to develop a home buildable boat that was affordable to people for winter entertainment during the days of the Depression. And
hence the DN.
That's where the DN comes from, Detroit News, and they also sponsored the building of the first 12 boats. So, and that's how the whole thing got started. And the fleet is huge in Europe. When you go over to Race the Worlds in Europe, there's 240 boats racing.
Wow.
And it's unbelievable. I mean, they have to limit the numbers of boats at the European regattas, and it's all started from here in Detroit, in the Detroit News.
Fascinating. You have a great aerial picture we'll show here in a second of the Worlds in where?
That aerial shot was from Menominee last year. Menominee up by Green Bay,
right.
So it's the Upper Peninsula that we raced in last year.
A lot of boats.
Yeah, we had about 200 boats here, last year, which was great. A lot of Europeans showed up, and we had great ice. And they also held the Northwest Regatta at the same time and the Night North American Championships at the same time. So there was just a huge number of ice boats all out on this lake. And then the Coast Guard, of course, was going to test the new Mackinac Coast Guard. They were going to come through the ice.
Oh, no.
Just happened to be at the bar for a wedding at the hotel where we were staying at, and John Harper luckily found out about it and was able to go over to talk to the guys and postpone the testing of the new Mackinac icebreaker. They were going to come right through Green Bay to test it.
You don't need an icebreaker at a regatta.
So it was
Let's talk about ice. One of the things you showed me was, you left for me to look at, was a VHS tape, which was of the World Championship in Estonia. Except that you got to Estonia and the ice was snow-covered, and that slows the boats down, and so you took a vote and you moved the whole regatta. You took the boats back apart, loaded them on your cars or trucks, and drove to Sweden for the regatta.
It's actually a 12-hour ferry ride from Estonia to Sweden, but that's a lot of fun in Europe, getting on the ferries with all the people in one place where you can sit down and have something to eat and maybe have a couple drinks and tell stories. Yeah, it's really fun. The camaraderie of the sport is what really makes it. And definitely, if you're not willing to get up and move, and you're in the wrong sport. And the good news is now is that the World Championships and North American Championships are held within a 1-week window. They have to go in that 1 week. It's one thing to go in and tell your boss, hey, you know what, I'm going to go out and sail on the ice. What? Yeah, I need a week off, but I don't know which week yet. Now at least they make it in a 1-week window for sure, and you just go to wherever the ice is.
And so somebody's monitoring ice conditions around the area.
Yep, with internet and cell phones and all that. We've got great scouts all over the place. And we started off the Worlds one year in Bay City and ended up in Barnegat Bay, New Jersey.
Wow.
So, but it all has to be within that 1 week, and if you've got enough gas money, you're going to end up in a hotel one place or the other anyway. So.
Yeah, I guess. But you're going to spend more time in the car than you are on the ice.
That's all part of the adventure.
That's part of the game.
If you look at it that way, it's fun.
Ron, what kind of ice are you looking for? What's the ideal condition, or does it vary depending on the sailor?
The ideal ice is what we call black ice. And if you get lucky enough that the water's really cold and there's been no snow or anything floating, because snow or old ice will float, just like ice cubes in a drink. So if you have no ice on the lake and you get to about 6 degrees below zero and no wind, it'll freeze just like a mirror. So you can see yourself and reflections of the boat in the ice. And it just takes a zephyr, and you'll be going 6 or 8 times the speed of the wind because there's just no friction. That's really the best. It's
How fast do these boats go?
The record's 149 miles an hour in the Guinness Book of World Records.
How fast did DN go?
I got clocked at 143 kilometers an hour in Finland, which is about 94 miles an hour. But that was absolutely ridiculous, extreme conditions, and I don't recommend it.
Tell me about the DN. It's what? How long? How wide?
DN's 12 feet long and 8 feet wide. It has a 16-foot mast and 60 square feet of sail. It has 3 skates or blades that are used. 2 side ones in the back are parallel. The front one you steer with.
Let's look at a picture of number US 44. That's your boat. Yeah. And you can see here it's got the 2 side runners or skates.
Yep.
And the front one is actually what steers the
Right.
The
There's
boat.
a tiller that comes back between your legs on the DN.
Another difference. Tell me about this picture. This is exciting.
That was in Haapsalu, actually, when I won the Worlds in Estonia. And that's Bernd Zeiger, one of my arch rivals from Germany. Great guy, sailmaker, and really a fun guy on and off the ice.
This is 2002?
Yes.
And next year you went back to Estonia, ended up in Sweden,
right.
And he beat you.
Yep.
In fact, you were third that year.
That's right.
Yeah. But that's a pretty representative picture. Now let's compare the size of the boat. It's what, 12 feet long, the hull?
Correct.
8 feet is the length of the
Runner plank.
the runner plank, is that what it's called?
Yep.
The plank across that holds those two blades. And compare that to the size of Griffin's boat, for example.
Well, Griffin's boat, it's an Opti ice boat that was actually developed in Europe. So the max length on those boats is 3 meters long, which is rated at 10 feet, and the max width is 6.5 feet, or 2 meters.
Mm-hmm.
And you want the boats to be pretty close to max length
Sure.
and max width. Max width and max length gives you more riding moment, gives you more stability.
Sure.
And
Legs are spread farther apart.
right. And the boats are really stable. It's amazing. Just like in the summertime with the prams, the sail that they're using seems to be pretty forgiving. The top of that sail will just spill off. So the boats end up being pretty stable and more safe for the young kids.
How many square feet of sail? You have 60 in your DN.
Right. I'm
What's
not sure
the
what it is
Opti?
in the Opti. It's probably like, somewhere in the area of 40.
That would be my guess, looking
Yeah.
at the pictures, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And you build boats.
Yeah.
You build them here in Clinton Township.
Yep, we have a shop downtown Detroit at Leon LeBeau's shop, the Marketing Connection, where we have a museum, and we have a 1954 Chris Craft, and I have a 30-foot oven where we build the masts, and I have all the mast molds, and then I also work out of another shop where I build the hulls and planks and runners. So a couple little places make it happen.
Got a great picture of two sailboats and look a lot alike, or two ice boats, and a couple guys standing next to them. That's your dad and you. Where was that taken?
That was taken in Wisconsin, in Mendota, Madison.
Yep, Lake Mendota.
Yeah, and that's Lauren, you told me that's a Renegade.
That's a Renegade, yes,
In fact,
sir.
it's two Renegades, and that's you and Ron.
Yep.
Now, when did you start this silly sport, Lauren?
I started when I was a kid living in Prince Edward Island, way out in the east coast of Canada. My dad started sailing, and he was very busy at the time, and he says, "Lauren, why don't you build an ice boat?" And I built it, which was pretty much a square rigger, a 2x4 across and 2x4 back, and a oarlock in the back for a steering skate, and the skates off a pair of boot skates to put on the side of the boat.
Really, from
Yes.
ice skating skates?
Ice skating
People
skates.
skates?
Yes, people skates. And my day of glory out there was I was out sailing, and here comes this speed skater who was the fastest on skates any place around there, and I tore away from him, and my day was made. Now, sailing a square rigger like I was at the time, that's all I knew how to make, you had to, when you got to the end of the ice, you had to stop the boat and get out and pull the boat back upwind.
So you went downwind.
Yeah. When I came to Detroit, back to Detroit where I was born, I got my first ride about 1950 on a Renegade plank, and of course that absolutely hooked me. I had been skiing before that. I lived in Montreal for a while, and when I was there I skied, and but I wanted something that I could do where I was close to my family, and ice boating was what I could do and be home for dinner in the evening on time.
Very good. That gains points.
Yeah.
Someplace along the way, you introduced this then 9-year-old boy to the sport here in Detroit.
Oh yes, yeah.
You told me, I don't want to get into whether we're in global warming or not, but you've told me a story today about sailing from Crocker up in Mount Clemens
out by the Surf Lounge.
all the way down to Crescent
Yes.
at roughly Kirby Road and Jefferson.
Yeah, and we sailed around the St. Clair Light on the way down. And going back, we pulled into Grosse Yacht Club and did a couple of laps around the harbor, and then took off and made it back to the foot of Crocker in time for the 1 o'clock races in the afternoon.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. You've also told me that for some number of years you were able to go ice boating on Lake St. Clair before December 15th.
Yeah, 15 years in a row I made sailing. I sailed on Lake St. Clair before the 15th of December with ice boat.
And you built boats as Ron does?
Yes.
And
Well, not like Ron does. I built boats for myself, for me to sail.
You're like my dad's fishing boats.
Yeah.
My dad was always making plywood fishing boats in the garage back in Jackson, Michigan, and every now and then he decided